Hello and welcome back to the Rugby Pod. I'm Andy Rowan. Big Jim and Goodey are with me as usual. We'll be reflecting on an explosive opening weekend in the Guinness Six Nations in which Scotland sealed back-to-back wins in the Calcutta Cup for the first time since 1984. Plus, we'll be joined by Scotland hero Darcy Graham. So settle back, enjoy, and make sure you're subscribed on Spotify.
Pod.
Rugby Pod.
How's your week been, lads?
Quiet.
James, you start. All I'm saying is I'm just happy to be home. That's. I'm just going to leave it there.
Mercy. That's what we should say. Now, we are bloody idiots, aren't we? I'm an idiot. And I did everything that I said I wouldn't do. Night one, on a Wednesday, in Dublin. Quiet occasion. Big shout out Cafe Onset. Big shout out to Sean Cronin and Guinness. Quiet. No. 3 a.m, Copperface Jacks, absolutely ramdingoed. The complete opposite. And that started off the snowball effect of everything from me dropping the mic and leaving on Thursday in Edinburgh. And I'm sure we'll go around the house and everything. Getting in at 1 o'clock on Friday, full day on Saturday, and Scotland doing the obvious and beating England. And we've gone about the houses on that. Andrew, how in Mary, Joseph, and Adam and Steve, are you still standing?
All I'm saying, James, is 3.5 kilos was the addition that I added in body weight last week. I dread to think how many pints of Guinness and blackcurrant I put down myself.
I can tell you on Wednesday and Thursday, collectively it was more than 30, responsibly.
Jeez. Collectively, is that including you or just me?
No, that's you, as in collectively over the 2 nights, as in 1 and 2, collective.
Yeah, I'll just say it was a heavy week, right? 3.5 kilos got added to the scales from when I left the house on Wednesday to when I got home Saturday evening after hosting something in London as well. And my missus said, "You look tired." I said, "Well, it's just work." Walked in the house, kids are already in bed. She's like, "You look absolutely shattered." And I wanted to say, what do you think happens after 50, 60 pints of Guinness over the last 4 days responsibly? Of course I'm going to be tired. But yeah, a hell of a few days, as we said. Started off Cafe on Seine in Dublin. And then we'll come on to Edinburgh, James, at the Pear Tree. Should we come on to that? Should we just let the masses know now?
An apology,
we had a hell of a night.
Or what?
Well, we had a hell of a night. Let's set the scene. So feeling a bit rough after Wednesday night in Dublin.
A bit rough?
Well, yeah, a little bit. Got to the hotel in...
Hanging.
Got to the hotel in Edinburgh on Thursday. I had to just get my head down for a couple of hours to recover, it was basically a recovery sleep in the afternoon. Odd message going back to the missus, how are the kids? Yeah, great. I've just got to go and get some food with Jim and do some work and all this stuff. Basically head down the hotel, recovery mode. And then we've gone to the Pear Tree in Edinburgh for our live show on Thursday night. And that first one just slipped down so nicely, the Guinness and blackcurrant again. And then 1 leads to 2, leads to 6, leads to 10. And we finished the live show, and it was a hell of a live show. Ryan Wilson came along and was brilliant on the mic. There was sing-songs. I was killing it as a fat Gary Barlow and a fat Robbie Williams. And it was great. Everyone loved it. Next minute, it's finished. Just going for a quick piss. And it was a long piss because it was about 8 Guinness deep at that point. Gone to the bar. Where's Jim? Over to you, James.
Kaiser Soze, if you can even say that now with everything that's gone on with him. But like that, he's gone. And there's getting mobbed and then there's getting mobbed. And this one guy came up to me and basically fell to his knees in front of me. I asked him what was going on. He said he was having a panic attack. I was like, "I've got you. I am fully fledged in first aid," and put him in a recovery position and saw the door. I shouldn't have seen the door. If he wasn't on the floor and his head poking towards the fire exit, I wouldn't have left. So for the guy who had the panic attack because he was talking to me, thank you. And it's your fault that the masses were wondering where Goodey's partner in crime was, because I was so gone in a taxi that I had the biggest smile on my face from ear to ear, because I knew that being in that taxi at 9:30 at night was better than being in that taxi at 9:30 in the morning heading back to the hotel with Goodey. So I do apologise for the masses who wanted me to hang about, but it's a busy week. It's a busy old week, and I'm professional. And if it wasn't for Wednesday, I would have done it on Thursday. So Wednesday, it's your fault. Dublin, it's your fault. Copperface Jacks, it's your fault. And the guy who I put in the recovery position, a big thank you from my wife and the family, because I woke up on Friday with a significantly clearer head.
I know, and I'll be honest, Friday morning, I did not wake up with a clear head, James, again.
I know you didn't, Andrew, because I had a few mates asking where I was, and they said they've got visuals on you, who looks like he's eating you from Wednesday, outside in the smoking area, just holding the fort, just literally holding the fans together. The glue that is the Rugby Pod, that is Andy Good, is holding the fort. And for that, I thank you, because as we know, Edinburgh is my hometown, and they didn't used to like you, but now Scotland is unbelievably good. They don't mind you. And yeah, you've done yourself a service there, and the Rugby Pod a service. Thank you.
Well, basically, it was like your international career, Jim. You went missing again, didn't you? You went missing in Edinburgh. You went missing when you pulled on that fucking Scotland jersey as well. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I've got a complaint about Edinburgh, though. It's quite a big complaint as well. Because what goes with 10 or 12 pints of Guinness responsibly, another 5 or 6, and then at the end of the night, what do you need?
Kebab, chips, sabloys.
Exactly. All of it. But what I did do, there's a complaint and then a mind-blowing experience. The complaint was at 3 o'clock in the morning when I needed a kebab, there was nowhere open. Literally, I got the taxi driver driving all around Edinburgh looking for any kebab house. Absolutely nothing open anywhere. But rewind the clock to about 10 p.m. that evening when everyone was on the hunt. Where's Jim? Where's Jim? Where's Jim? A couple of lads from the live show, decent lads, are like, hey, Goodey, you know what you need to do? You need to try a battered Mars bar. I went, mate, if you get me a battered Mars bar, bring it back to the pear tree. I will eat it right here, right now in front of you. Thinking he was taking the piss. And literally 5 minutes later, this geezer's arrived with 2 battered Mars bars, one for him, one for me. First time I've ever had a battered Mars bar in my life. And my goodness, what an experience, James.
Let's get into the Calcutta Cup then. Goodey, what do you make of it?
Well, I've watched it back again. And this might be controversial because Scotland won the Calcutta Cup. Let's say that first. Scotland won it and they defended heroically. Watching the game back, we should have won that game by 15 points.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. No, I'm not kidding you. I'm looking at possession. I'm looking at decisions that were made. I'm looking at where the game was with 20 minutes to go. England 17 points to 10 up. Scotland getting driven to the cowsheds and back in the mauls. The amount of possession that we had. Fair play. Listen, Scotland, credit to them, without a shadow of a doubt. The opportunities, I think they got into our 22 once in the first 50-odd minutes. I think that was a crazy stat that came out. But England, we controlled that first half in terms of possession, territory. Again, we went to the kicking game a lot. You see, and this is one of the problems, I think, with Eddie Jones's coaching. He's so autocratic in how he does everything. If he tells the players there's an option of kicking it through on the edge, which there are at times, and some of the kicks are okay, you don't need to do it every time you get the ball, boys. 5v3. Why are you kicking it through? Let's go through the hands. I know the conditions were difficult at times, but we kicked away a lot of possession. And then we get ourselves into that position, 17-10 up. I mean, there was dominance and there was absolute dominance. The Scotland forwards were just begging for no set pieces, right, Jim?
Where? On what bit? Are you saying we struggled to set piece?
100%. Like you couldn't control our driving line out whatsoever.
What do you mean control it?
Well, every time you're getting driven back 10 or 15 metres. Now, in those conditions, you don't need to play rugby. If you've got a driving line out and a territorial game, you just say, they are, lads. Ludlam was on fire. Sinclair was on fire. Our driving line out was absolutely dominating Scotland. Step up, Eddie Jones. I know what I'm going to do. We're 7 points up. We're going to take off Marcus Smith. We're going to take off Carl Sinclair. We're going to take off Lewis Ludlam. And then we capitulated. And you've got to credit Scotland, without a shadow of a doubt. You credit Scotland, for having, Finn Russell, the cojones to go crossfield kick, back to crossfield kick. The detail of the first crossfield kick. England's defence were too tight. Were they too tight? Because George Ford was on. He likes a tighter defence. Don't know. Max Malin's on the wing. Was he too tight? And Freddie Stewart slightly out of position. Max Malin's then missed the tackle, which means Marchant over chases. Freddie Stewart comes up to make the tackle. Cowan Sickey is on the end for the second crossfield kick against Darcy Graham. obviously the fear, the panic in his eyes, in his arse, in absolutely everything he was doing. He slaps it out. But where's your six? Your six should be that last defender there. So Don Brandt's come on at 6 instead of Lewis Ludlam. Marchant would have come back. So there's loads of things that added to it, but class from Finn Russell to go pinpoint kick to pinpoint kick. And then secondly, Eddie Jones doesn't change Jamie George onto the field when we've got a 5 metre line out. He says, Joe Marler, there you go. All your fingers are taped up. You've probably never done this in your life, but here's the biggest pressure thrower in the world in a Calcutta Cup. And then he sicks him on 10 seconds afterwards. The scrum eventually give a penalty away. So, listen, I'm not taking anything away from Scotland at all. You know, they defended heroically. Steve Tandy has done a ridiculous job there. But England will look back at that game, and hopefully Eddie Jones can look back at that game, put his hand up and say, I've made some horrific errors in terms of the management of my team, the decision-making, and, you know, he's effectively cost us the Calcutta Cup. So I blame Eddie. Like, Joe Marler's never thrown a line out like that in his life, has he? So obviously the contingency plan is, right, if this happens, right, you do that. And it's a panic stations. So that the players have panicked, but it sits with Eddie Jones. Get your hooker on the field, Eddie. Get him on for the biggest line out that England have had in that game.
Well, he does. He brings him on after that. And my point being, from that line out, we win the game. Because we get the scrum, we get the penalty, and you could see there was a bit of conferring going, do we go to the corner? Do we go for another scrum? And we'll come on to the scrums in a bit. I'll give you my analysis around that. No. We give England the full respect they deserve, and we'd be like, this could be a 3-point game, a 2-point game. We could be looking at a draw. Let's go for the post. Finn slots the goal, and we go 3 points in front, right? Then I know it's further out. I know the range is further out. Hamish Watson gives away a penalty. England find themselves getting into Scotland's half. There's another penalty. They go to corner. We steal the line out.
Well, stop. Let me just rewind it. Jim, just rewind it. So where you say England go to the line out from the penalty, I 100% think that we should have kicked that at goal to take it to 20 points all.
Yeah. So that's where I was going to pull it back. So my point being, when they kick to the corner and we steal the line out, Elliot Daly, and I'm only going based on commentary, but I was watching him, and as you know, and as we know, and as our listeners know, that's why we think he went on the Lions tour, because he can kick from his own up. But yes, it was windy. But why would you not even have a shot at goal? And if it does go too far or whatever, the likelihood is you're getting the ball back in a similar area of the pitch. The fact that they thought that maybe the driving line out was going well. I mean, this is the thing.
Personally, I think you should take the shot at goal. But if you choose to go to the corner, now, are they thinking, and this is just me thinking, I've got no intel from inside the England camp. Are they thinking, well, a draw is actually no good because that means Scotland retain the Calcutta Cup anyway because you won at Twickenham last year. So then they might think, right, well, our driving line out has been unbelievable. Henry Slade, who's kicked left foot to that right touchline all game, every penalty, Henry Slade kicked it. George Ford is on the pitch now because Marcus Smith's gone off. And oh, by the way, Eddie Jones, if you'd watched Marcus Smith properly over the last 18 months, how many games has he single-handedly won for his club? And for England, he beat South Africa on his own towards the death. So why'd you take him off? Oh, because you've made a mistake, but you won't admit it. But then George Ford's on the field at 10. Henry Slade's been kicking them all, and he's got history. I remember Henry Slade single-handedly ended the career of my great friend and great Scotsman, Jim Hamilton, with his left foot kick to that corner down against Saracens for Exeter. He's been doing it for years. And obviously they drove over the line out, scored, and that was Saracens knocked out the Prem. That was, you had Graves' disease, didn't you? So you would have played in the Prem final the next week. But, oh no, we're going to give it George Ford. And he kicks it. I'm not taking the piss. I'm retired. I've put on a good 10 kilos and some. I'd have found closer to the corner than George Ford did with that kick. And I've got pins and plates in my ankle. I'm sorry.
Your ankle's fused.
Exactly. Henry Slade, why hasn't he taken that kick to the corner, which one, he's been doing all game until Marcus Smith goes off, and two, he's renowned for it as a skill. So where you look at leadership, go back to the 2015 World Cup, there was, I don't know, do we take the three? Do we kick it to the corner? Blah, blah, blah. George Ford was part of that decision-making process. Why hasn't Henry Slade got the ball pulled his shorts up as he does, and then walloped it even 8 meters out. Because what happens is, I think the line out was about the 22 or just outside the 22, wasn't it? Fucking Scotland haven't hardly competed all game. They can put 2 pods up. And what do? They nick the line out. I think they saw Jim in the crowd and went, yeah, we're getting up for this one. They nick the line out, don't they? Whereas if you put it 7, 8, even 9 meters out, maybe they don't compete because they're thinking, geez, we've got to stay on the deck here and absolutely blitz this maul that we haven't been able to blitz all game. So shocking from England. Fair play to Scotland.
But on that line out, though, that's probably where the confusion lay, because they obviously thought it was going to go further and then had to change their call as they were going to the line out because they're like, hang on, mate, we're not even in the 22 here properly. So you could see the momentum changing, and there's all this talk at the end around the scrums and Ben McKeith giving Scotland the benefit of the doubt. If you look at all the scrums over the weekend with this new breakfoot law, I'm not going to go into it, but there was issues in every single scrum. The France-Italy game as well, right to the very last scrum in that game. The scrum where we got the penalty off as well to win the game. There was issues before that. And then I actually thought, and again, I'm giving you my honest take on the game, that it should have been a penalty at the scrum for Marler wheeling around WP now. And all the England fans and everyone's like, well, it should have been a penalty to England. I've had to go back and watch it because I'm happy to fall on my sword. I've gone back and watched it 5 or 6 times. And I'm like, every decision Ben McKeith has made is right. Apart from that last one, where I thought the penalty could have gone for Scotland for Marler running around WP now. And you understand why he's done it. And I thought Darcy Graham's turnover was quite lucky. But this is the whole thing. You make your own luck. And I know we take the piss and we joke about it. I have been in them games before where we have lost them for whatever reason, through a decision not going our way, through the bounce of a ball. And it feels now with Scotland, it's our time. It feels like for whatever reason, the tide is turning. In parts of that, I thought England played better. I mean, they put a lot more width. They looked a lot more comfortable in attack. But the difference is now with Scotland is when we get the opportunities, we take the 2 opportunities we got, was the try that we scored with Ben McWhite, and then obviously the 2 crossfield kicks from Finn, which resulted in a penalty try. And then we took the penalty off the scrum as well. So that shows me that we did deserve to win the game for them reasons. I know you think England played better. Did you say that?
No, I said,
convinced you otherwise?
No, England should have won that game by 10 points. If we'd have been as accurate as Scotland were. Scotland, listen, you deserve the win. The scoreboard doesn't lie, does it? But it's England's errors a lot of the time. Not necessarily in the tries or the points that Scotland scored, but the way the coaches, and I say coaches, sod it, the way Eddie Jones managed everything. The changes that were made. You're 17-10 up. You're driving to the cowsheds and back. And Marcus Smith scored all 17 points. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll take him off. No, Eddie, you're wrong. Question for you, Jim. Owen Farrell's at 10. Exactly the same circumstances. England 17-10 up with 20 minutes to go. Would he take Owen Farrell off, put Marcus Smith on? Or even same thing, would he have, with George Ford on the bench, would he have taken Owen Farrell off and put George Ford on? I'm telling you now, no, he wouldn't. And that's where the error is.
While we're on the topic of Eddie, is there any chance that he could lose his job if these performances continue leading into the World Cup?
Yes. If they get beat by Italy at the weekend, I can tell you now. Andrew.
You say there's a chance?
From what I saw from Italy for 55 minutes, no, there is no chance. But you have to look at it now. For the first time ever, we are properly questioning it for the reasons you've just said, Goodey. Like, not for the... Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say so, yeah.
What I'm disagreeing with is the fact that you're saying for the first time now. It ain't the first time now. Like Six Nations last year, autumn before then, he should have, if he was going, he should have gone then. The thing is now, and you're reading loads of stuff in the press, there isn't anyone at the RFU above him with the rugby knowledge or gravitas to hold him to account. So the fact that he's already made the decision that he's leaving after the World Cup in 2023, I think they've gone that far down the line now. If we lose to Italy, sack him. Without a shadow of a doubt, we lose to Italy, sack him. And just you've got Cockers and other guys there to take over Matt Proudfoot and then quickly come up with a plan. We ain't losing to Italy, I hope. We've got Wales at home 2 weeks after that. then Ireland at home, then France away. And if you beat Italy and lose all three, then I think you've got to have a fair conversation around it. I've praised him for changing his ways around picking players on form and what we're seeing from this new younger England squad, because he didn't move on from the 2019 World Cup. I'm now questioning again, he's just so authoritarian. Could Eddie get sacked? Well, if we finish fifth, I'd sack him if we finish fifth. Get rid of him.
Let's focus on the positives now then and have a chat with one of Scotland's Calcutta Cup winning heroes from Saturday. Darcy Graham joins us. How are you, mate?
Very well. Yourself?
So, yeah, we're very happy, mate. We're very happy. Goodey, not so much. Not so much.
I'm happy you've come on, Darcy. I'm happy you've come on.
I'm the first I've done a full-on big podcast, so very excited.
Darcy, mate, it's class to have you. Obviously, I've been watching you play for the last few years, and I knew you were going to come through. And not that you've just come through now, you came through a couple of years ago, and you've been fantastic. But I know it's all about looking forward now. But for all our listeners, a lot of the Scottish fans are going to be buzzing with what they saw at the weekend, what they saw from you. Like, just take us back, because I know you're concentrating on Wales, but how did the whole kind of build-up with fans back in the stadiums, families being in stadiums, and England being first up at home in the Calcutta Cup? How was it?
Oh, it was mad. That's probably the most emotional I've been coming off the bus. I think just the build-up. It was obviously the weather was horrendous, but the fans were there in numbers, and that's probably the best atmosphere. It was like when you come off the bus, that was the best atmosphere I've ever encountered.
Were you emotional as you got off the bus because you saw Jim Hamilton in the crowd and like he was everyone's vice captain back in the day? Because that's what he's claiming. He said he saw the lads come off the bus and that was when he knew. He gave you all the nod and Scotland were winning. Did you see him or not?
I can't say I saw him.
He felt me. He felt the energy because I saw the bus come in, Darcy, and I was stood there. I was doing some filming for the Union, and like you said, it was absolutely smashing it down, like not a little bit of rain. And the fans that were there, and I remember, I don't know, it's different now. I don't know whether it is different. Maybe you can tell us. But normally we'd get off the bus and just walk in. I'd wave to a few people, and then when Finn gets off, everyone cheers. But you all waited, didn't you? You waited at the bottom of the bus for everyone to get there, and the place just went mad when you all walked into the ground.
Yeah, that's a new thing we've brought in. Just everybody kind of get out the bus and just wait till the last person's off, and we all go in together. And I quite like being off quite early because you just get to build that atmosphere and soak it all up. And managed to pick out my granny and papa out in the crowd. So my papa was roaring and crying pretty much the whole game.
Darcy, with the weather conditions, it did calm down. You might be able to tell us from your perspective on the pitch from where it started from. And I suppose all that kind of emotion from the anthems and the families being there, were you thinking to yourself, am I going to get hold of the ball there? Because it's potentially going to be a kicking game. You're going to be chasing high balls. We know that they picked two wingers that are really good under the high balls in Match and Max Malins. What were you thinking personally to try and get yourself into the game early?
Yeah, I knew just for the weather there's going to be a lot of kicking and high balls. So I think that was the way I was going to get into the game was chasing those high balls, winning them back. But like I say, I never got as many touches as I normally like. I love getting on ball and that, and I never got as many touches as I like. But so that was kind of just one way to get in the game is chasing those kicks pretty much. A wee spaniel, chase the ball all day.
Ah, nice. And now you said you didn't get that many touches earlier on, but one of the great stats that's come out of the game is that you beat more or as many defenders as the whole of the England team individually. So that's a hell of an effort. Let's talk through the try that you put on for the debutant White. Now, at any point were you thinking, nah, he's not getting it?
You have to give the 2v1. If you get caught man and ball then and don't give the pass, you're going to get slated for it. So it's an easy one. And to see the smile on Ben's face when he scored, it made my day.
What about the noise when he scored? I mean, it's hard to kind of explain even to people that were in the stadium as fans. As a player, and I've not experienced that noise. I think the games that I played, we took all penalties. There were a couple of tries. I remember Max Evans and Tom Evans, great lads, scoring them. But what is that like? What's that feeling like, Darcy, for the youngsters listening to this as a player on the pitch? Someone who's just gone through in open space and you've set up that try. I know Ben White scored the try. It was a great move, but just try and describe that feeling if you can.
It's ridiculous. It's very hard to put into words. it's just he's growing up as a Scottish boy. That's all he dream of, making line breaks and the fans just roaring and cheering. So it's like a dream come true. And yeah, it's so hard. Like you say, it's so hard to put into words, but it's just it gives you goosebumps thinking about it. I've got goosebumps thinking about it now. It's there's no better feeling.
Lovely. And then let's talk about Luke Cowan-Dickey's batting the ball into touch. I've read over the weekend that you were absolutely raging because that was your opportunity to score a try, and I've got no doubt you'd have scored it. It's funny, isn't it? Like the rage comes out because a hooker has slapped the ball into touch. It would have been your try. Was rage definitely out there?
I wouldn't say rage. I'm more gutted. It was just one of those things. Stuff he's going to try, and like there's nothing better scoring a try out at Murrayfield. So I was gutted. But fair play to him. He found himself in a horrible spot.
Yeah, I bet you were, Darcy. I mean, just tell us about that move, because me and Goodey were chatting, me and Freddie Burns were chatting about it, and Freddie and Goodey both contextualised it well. The reason why it came off, was it always going to be a double kick, or was it just because of the way how well that first kick went to Duhan van der Merwe that the option was on for you? Did you call it in because you saw poor Luke Cowan-Dickey on the wing?
So the scrum move actually went wrong. I was meant to go left and carry, and then I ended up going right. I seen space, but then Finn just put that kick right across the Dewey, and it was perfect. Then I just held that touchline, and Finn just backed himself to get it off under pressure, and he put it right on the money. And Finn he's world class at those the kicking game. So he just sees the space and goes for it. So he's and he backs himself. So he's just honestly, he's world class, and it's quality playing well.
Now, ultimately, as a winger, you're sort of judged on impacts in the game, ball in hand, scoring tries, making breaks, all this stuff, which you did. But three of the biggest moments in Scotland's game, you were part of them all. Obviously, the try to Ben White in the first half, the crossfield kick to yourself where the penalty try came, but also one of the big things, and you've probably been telling Hamish Watson how to do it, the turnover at the end. Have you been getting pats on the back from all the back rows thanking you? Because had it have gone the other way and it could have been a penalty to England or something, I'm sure people would have jumped on you.
Yeah, I was very lucky to get that penalty. I kind of gave one away 10 minutes before going off my feet. But yeah, the boys were buzzing. I kind of just barked myself, stuck my head in the ruck, and luckily came away with the ball. And Huggy kicked out. So yeah, the boys were buzzing. But it was a team effort. Like the forwards stuck their bodies on the line in those scrums. It was scrum after scrum after scrum. So I think they were absolutely delighted to see the ball getting kicked out.
Yeah, absolutely. Darcy, it was ballsy, though, to go for that turnover. And I suppose it's a two-pronged question. The height you are potentially makes you quite good and quite compact in them areas. There seems to be a shift in the wings. I know with Duhan van der Merwe, we've got a big winger. You look at Wales, they've got tall wingers and small wingers that are playing. But there seems to be like this kind of shift back, without talking about Chesley Colby, but he is one of the best players in the world. And the way that you're playing at the minute. So are you practicing going over the ball because you're small? Is that something that's in your repertoire with the smaller wingers and centres that we find?
Yeah, I've always enjoyed getting in there and getting the breakdowns. I think I just gotta use my speed to try and beat the cleaners in. If I can get on the ball before them, I've got half a chance of coming away with the ball. So it's something I like to add to my game, and I do enjoy that physical side.
You get that out of your game, son. You don't want to be too physical in the game. Joking. One of the things I want to ask you about, obviously, from an English perspective, we saw Marcus Smith go off. England was 17-10 up. He was starting to run the game nicely. Did any of the Scotland boys get together and talk about the change that England made? Obviously, George Ford coming on, a few of the substitutions. Did it change anything? Because ultimately, there was a massive swing in momentum, wasn't there?
Yeah, no, we never really spoke about it. Like I said, we just focused on ourselves, and like whoever they bring on is world class. So we just have to respect. We respected them, and we know they'll play rugby and that. So we just have to respect them and play our own game and back ourselves to kind of get into the lead and hold them out. So it's just all about us.
And being all about us, Darcy, I am literally doing the rounds in Edinburgh City Centre on Saturday night. I'm going to every single nightclub asking where the Scotland boys are, and you're not there. Apparently you weren't out.
Lucky you. I know, we were stuck in the hotel. As Xander said live on TV, we were ripping the arse out of it.
Mate, and then just with that, with the Calcutta Cup, I did hear him on BBC, and they had to apologise. I was like, well, mate, we just won a test match. But with the Calcutta Cup, there seemed to be a shift which I've not seen in Scotland, and this will bring us on to the rest of the tournament and the game at the weekend against Wales. the celebrations before have been like we've won the World Cup final, and I'm sure that that's how it felt. I know the Calcutta Cup got passed twice because Princess Anne had to come on and give it, even though Hoggy had already given it to the boys, which was quite funny, royalty. But from your perspective, did it feel a little bit different this time? With all due respect to England, we won it last year. You know, we've drawn one, we've won one before. You know, England have only beaten us 1 in 5. Is there something bigger for this team now, Darcy, in front of us?
Yeah, I strongly believe so. So I've kind of thought for a while that we're going to really do something amazing, something's just going to click over the next few years. And yeah, I do believe we can do something special. And like I say, this is in years before, it was like the Calcutta Cup was the be all and end all. If you won that, it's like you win the World Cup. But now it's just a trophy, and like we want to win it and then go on and do something special. So it's not the be all and end all. We've got a long few weeks ahead of us, but we can definitely come out the other end with something very big.
And then looking forward to this weekend, obviously going out to Wales.
Yep.
You've not actually won in Cardiff at the Principality since 2002. So I don't think Jim ever won down there, did you, Jim? But we won't go into that one. Obviously a massive test, and ultimately, you know, talking about wings, Lewis Rees-Zammit is going to be ridiculously quick. Obviously, Josh Adams moved back to them at the weekend. What are you expecting from the Wales team? Because they're going to be wounded, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. They'll be hurting after that loss, so they'll be coming hard. And like you said, we've not won there for 20 years now, so it's a massive opportunity to go down there and kind of show what we're about. And like you spoke about, their wingers, they're rapid, so they'll look to get their quick boys on ball. So I think we're going to have to be on our game and really, really focus.
And then Darcy as well, and like this week in training, and I'm just quite interested to know who's running the show in training in terms of leaders, because the leaders in the team are the lads that like to go out and enjoy themselves. Obviously, Finn, Hoggy enjoys that as well, and rightly so. You know, Ali Price, you see the three walking out to training every day together, but there needs to be like a shift in mentality, doesn't it? You go from that, and then it's straight down to business. So when you come into training Monday, Tuesday, who's running the show? Is it Gregor leading the charge, or is it all player driven? Because it seems now that there's a big player drive within this squad, something that only myself brought to the team for 10 years in 2006 onwards.
Oh my God, Jim.
Yeah, so it kind of start of the week, it starts out with Gregor and coaches. They just get the basics in with the new moves we're going to run in that. Then as the week go on, the players take over. The closer to game day it gets, the players start taking over. Finn and Hoggy step up and really taking control of everything. But I think kind of all the players just buy into it, and like there's a lot of boys lead now. They might not even be in the leaders group or leaders groups, but the boys have like got respect, and anybody can jump in when putting that into the group. So we're all leaders in that terms, but yeah, later in the week, kind of Hoggy and Finn take over.
One of the things I want to ask you mentioned Finn quite a lot, and he was, instrumental in the victory at the weekend. A few weeks ago, it was made clear that Finn's pre-match meal for one of his games was a Five Guys. Did he have a Five Guys before that performance? Because if he did, I've been looking around Edinburgh. I couldn't find one anywhere when I was there at the weekend. He had an absolute stormer. Do you have anything like a Five Guys before a game? Or are you all healthy food?
No, I love some lasagna the night before. That's my go-to. And down in Ospreys the week before, there was no lasagna, and I was absolutely raging. So I had to Deliveroo and get some ordered in.
Well, Darcy, that's why we lost, mate, down in Ospreys. I say, wait, why do I keep saying we? This is embarrassing.
Jim, you are embarrassing.
I know, I am embarrassing. Talking of embarrassing, and I don't see this as embarrassing, Darcy, the captain, Skip. So when he's talking, he's getting all serious. Are you looking at the top Nashers, or are you looking at the bottom Nashers? How do you feel, Darcy, how do you feel as a Hoyt boy, a Borders boy, a strong country boy, that your captain and one of your mates has gone the full hog, no pun intended, hair, tan, and now fake tags? How is that? I mean, are you going to go down that route, or can you assure us that you're not?
He's had some stick from it, the boy. He takes it very well. He loves it. Yeah, he loves the banter, but he takes it very well.
Darcy, let's just leave on this, mate, because you're a young lad who's carving up. Yeah, I've been for Edinburgh as well. I know there's a humble element to it. You've got a massive Six Nations in front. Just try and sum up what it means. I know you've had a tough time as well with family. Then there's been no fans at stadiums. Now it just seems like everything's clicking at the right time. Just give us a kind of couple of lines on how it feels being a young lad on the wing just literally ripping the arse out of it.
No, it's just like I've said before, the young Scottish boy growing up, all you ever wanted to do was, for me, was play for Hawick and play for Scotland. And to have like the fans back, like you said, it's unbelievable. And there's plenty of room. So just like a young boy, just go out there, back yourselves, and just enjoy your rugby, and you can one day play for Scotland, no doubt, if you believe in it. That's one thing my mum always said, just if you believe in something hard enough, you'll get it. So you just always believe.
That's maybe what you were missing, Jim, because Darcy's played England twice. He's not lost. He's won once and drawn one. He's won the Calcutta Cup. Jim, you played 7 times and never won it. So, mate, Darcy, you keep doing what you're doing.
I drew with them, mate. Darcy, mate, absolute pleasure. Loving to see it. I think the fact that Scotland are now competitive, load of good young quality lads, the fact that you're open to the media and all that, it is the kind of modern day professional rugby that we want to see. You know, we had Mike Blair, you coached on Edinburgh the other week, and the fact that you put yourself out there to do it as well, we really appreciate it, mate, because you're in a bit of a big tournament.
Quality.
Well, thanks very much for coming on the show, Darcy, and best of luck for the rest of the tournament.
Top lad. Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less. And I had to say it there at the end because it must be difficult, as much as they might want to do it, they might not want to do it, to get a young lad come on, having just won the Calcutta Cup, a player of his quality who's in the middle of a tournament, to come and have fun and interact with us is quality. Credit to him. Big thank you to the Scotland Rugby Union for allowing that as well. And what an absolute treat, because, I mean, he's just he's a worldie of a player, and I love watching him.
Yeah, he's been great, and he will be very good across the rest of his career. Yeah, massive change up for the SRU. Maybe it's the power of Jim Hamilton working for them now that we get Darcy Graham to come on. He's brilliant. And the other thing, do you remember when we took the Calcutta Cup back from Edinburgh to Twickenham 3 years ago, whenever it was?
Yeah,
we went to I reckon he was still at school. We went to his school, didn't we? And was he still there in his shorts?
People were mentioning about this young lad coming through. They said, we've had Stuart Ogg, you want to see this lad, Darcy Graham? I was like, all right, then, here we go.
Here we go.
And here he is. So I touched him on the shoulder. That's effectively what happened. And now, look, that's shocking. I know. God, I'm embarrassing myself now. I've got zero influence over this team now.
Mate, he was great. It's great having him on as well.
Let's turn our attention to the other game of the Six Nations then. How good were Ireland?
Ridiculous. But we knew that. We knew that. We spoke about it. And I suppose my only worry before that game was, I've said it a million times, that I didn't think Wales would be any good. And they've always proven me wrong. And this was a game because we've had Dan Bigger on, he's a friend of the show, and because he's new captain. And we don't want to see Wales poor or struggling, but everything points in the direction that they were always going to struggle, because with the injuries they've got, Josh Adams at 13, which proved to not be a great decision, and with how Ireland have been going both in the URC, in Europe, and what they did to the All Blacks, and all these things that we've spoken about in the lead-up, and that's exactly what we saw. What we thought was going to happen is exactly what happened. Ireland just dominant from start to finish. Their forwards, my goodness me, on the front foot, physical. Caleb Doris, Ty Byrne, two friends of the show. I mean, everyone, all of them. They look frighteningly good on the front foot, and it was a consolation try at the end for Tane Basham, and that saved the blushes, really, because I know they said it on commentary, but it's a fact. You know, that getting that 7 points at the end doesn't change much, but it changes the feeling of not being absolutely humperdinked. But they were
not much. I'll come back to Wales in a bit, but you talk about Ireland's forwards. What about their props? Oh my Porter and oh my Ty Furlong. Absolutely world class in every facet. The forwards, the ball handling, the ball carrying. I remember you go back 3 years, very similar players in that Ireland team were getting absolutely blitzed by England in the games that we played against them in terms of power. Now, this Ireland team, they're handling, their ball carrying, their meters after contact, the ruck speed, because technically they're flying into rucks like you wouldn't believe. They're winning those collisions. I think 71% of Ireland's rucks were under 3 seconds. I mean, you're blowing out your hoop if you're an attacker, but you're even more blowing out your hoop if you're a defender, because you ain't got time to reset or think or anything. They were just ridiculous, Ireland. And it's very similar to how they played against the All Blacks. They're all of a sudden, they've clicked, haven't they? Bundy Aki scored a pretty quick try from accurate passing. Wasn't quite as quick as the fastest try on opening Six Nations weekend ever.
Go on, Goodey.
When was that?
Oh,
on,
sorry. 2009, Andy Good, opening round of the Six Nations. Fastest try ever.
Didn't see it. Not seen it. I think it
Archives, only try I've ever scored for England. But anyway, it's not about me. The passing's so crisp that they were just on point across the whole park, weren't they? And anyone that looked at it, and I'll be honest, before the game when you saw the teams, I was like, Mac Hansen, I commentated on Connacht, and I'm like, hold on, let me do some research here. Return of them. It wasn't even the return of the Mac, it was the start of the Mac. And he was phenomenal. So what do we know?
Test match players, aren't they? And Andy Farrell must know, because again, it's a big call putting Mac Hansen in. And for the millions of you who don't know him, he's an Aussie. He looks like an Aussie as well, but he plays like an Irishman. And with everything that's happened in Ireland with CJ Stander and James Lowe, it's a big call for Andy Farrell to do that with the players that they've got to choose from. And I'm the same as you. I've seen a bit of Connor, looked a decent player, but they've seen something that shows that he can step up. And all my passes is all I'm saying. I mean, with a name like Mac, you best be good. And it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't even return of the Mac. It was like Mac is here, like Mac is in the house, that kind of Mac. And just adds another layer, doesn't it, really, to them? I mean, they weren't tested. And that's the thing for Ireland, is the biggest test is going to be against France this weekend. And that's where we'll get a gauge, because arguably this is a Grand Slam decider coming up for them. And Wales, I suppose, is going to be, I'm going to say it, they have to beat Scotland. They have to be. Because we were joking about it, weren't we, in terms of that last game against Italy. If they don't beat Scotland at home, where's their next win coming? When you look at it, really. I feel a bit sorry for them, really, in terms of where they've come.
Are you changing your tune, James?
No, I do. I do, like, genuinely, because I'm like, I don't, like, we can sit here and we've all got our favourite teams and we can all sit and have a joke. But where's it coming from? Like, where is the next generation of Welsh stars coming? You look at Ireland. We've spoken to Darcy Graham. You look at this profile of the Scotland team. England are always going to be good. France look phenomenal in terms of what they've got coming through, who they can choose from. Italy, let's say it, they're getting better. They've got a load of young players. Whereas Wales, and I commentate on the URC, and we've spoken about the regions, we've spoken about not winning a game in Europe. So you're like, all right, well, what's happening here then? And then you look at people in Wales and you look at media folk and guys like Tom Shanklin who mention it. And that's the thing, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Wales getting humped every week.
Whose doorstep does that land on, that problem? Like, why isn't there players coming through for Wales?
I think a lot of the issues are just the relationship between the WRU and the regions. And there's a massive breakdown there from what you hear financially, politically, investment-wise, into academies and everything like that. And there are some good young players there. But it's at the start, you take out that whole forward pack that they're missing with the likes of Falatau, Ken Owens, Alan Jones, Tipperick. These boys have been around for donkey's years. Now you've got Basham, Ellis Jenkins. They're good young players. But you've relied so heavily, and it's a very similar strategy to England, 2003 World Cup. That team were at the absolute peak and at the end of their top cycle when they won it in 03. There was no succession planning by Clive Woodward because, they all start retiring and it's like England were shit. And that was when I played for England. We were shit because I played in a few other guys without much experience. And then that's where Wales are now. They've been so reliant on a lot of these older guys now where you're like, shit, actually, they're all not here. What do we do? So they're going to have some tough learnings, the Welsh team. But you hope that they can pull through and, they haven't lost it at home in Cardiff to Scotland for 20 years. And I can see that continuing because imagine the rage this week. Sam Basham's been saying it in the press already. There's going to be an edge. My God, there's going to be an edge.
What about France's win over Italy on Sunday? Italy were a bit more competitive, weren't they?
Generally are. Against France in the first half. Historically, it's been a big game for them, hasn't it? With the Latino effect and a lot of Italian players playing in France historically. it has changed. And look, I commentated on Italy in the autumn for the big ones when they played against the All Blacks, played really well, played against Argentina, they played well, and they beat Uruguay, which was an absolute belting classic of the game. But Italian rugby, this is the first time where I've actually seen that they are on a path to somewhere. It's come too late, in my opinion, because they're getting humped every week. It's easy to say a team's growing, they've got an opportunity. They're the complete opposite to Wales in terms of the strength and depth they've now got. They've been big investment in the regions. I know the Zebra are struggling. Benetton Treviso aren't. They're doing well. And I'm not saying they're going to do something, but I'm saying they look all right. And against France, they were all right. That first off, they were physical. Their defence, they've got a really good defence to come up hard on the outside. The big thing for them and the big thing for Italy, I know they took their try well, Manicello on debut, is they don't score tries. And if you play against France, my goodness me, you need to score some tries because they can score tries. So French looked physical when they wanted to turn it on. Gregory Aldry was Aldry again. And I've been a bit of a nausea. The way they run off 9, obviously Dupont snipes, and the forwards, sending forwards down men channels, they've just got more power, haven't they? It'd be interesting to get it against Ireland. That's going to be the big one because Ireland are probably quite similar in terms of the fringes. But yeah, wiped the floor with them in the end, really. But I was impressed with how Italy stuck in, and I saw enough in that Italian team. And I'll tell you right here, right now, that Romania or Georgia should be coming up to the Six Nations because I think Italy over the next 2 or 3 years, if we give them long enough to come through, might end up taking over Wales and England.
Make you dreaming. But yeah, actually looking at them, obviously Kieran Crowley's taken over. They looked much better organised as well, didn't they? Not only defensively, but some parts of their attack as well. And attack's the tough one to break down when you've got, like Jim said, you've got to score tries. But defensively, they looked, structured, coming off the line hard collectively, as opposed to ones and twos, which create dog legs. It's always the weather was a bit of a leveller, I think, as well. It was absolutely teaming it down at one point in Paris. And that, we'll see how they are at the end of the Six Nations, but hopefully they continually improve. And England are probably going to go and put 50 on them this weekend.
People are already talking about the clash this weekend against Ireland in Paris as the title decider. Is that a bit disrespectful to Scotland, or Jim, you mentioned it before?
No, we've got to lose in bonus point.
Yeah, we're talking Grand Slam here, Andrew. This is Grand Slam chat, so if you let us carry on.
He said title. He didn't say Grand Slam. He said title.
Yeah, we'll go with Grand Slam. It sounds so much better. And you're not in that. England aren't in that chat.
True.
So,
we're gone.
Let me take it from here just for the first bit, and then you can jump in about the wooden spoon decider later. Oh, gosh.
You're
this is the one.
You're absolutely mad, Jim.
I know. I'm quarter English, and they're going to hate me. I think they've all unfollowed me now. Well, this is the big one. This is the game of the weekend in terms of a neutral, or if there is going to be a Grand Slam, you could arguably say it's going to happen from one of these two teams. Scotland play Ireland the last game. We don't play well against Ireland. It was close last year, but we lost and we were at home. So you're thinking, and this is in my fantasy book, if Scotland can win every game from now, Wales at the weekend, France, the game 3 at home, France is a team we've beaten twice. So why not? Twice in a row. Why not? Away last year, 14 men. At home the year before, then the guy at the bat, and then we're all shut down. So you're thinking, beat Wales, beat France, we'll beat Italy. The last game against Ireland, if they can do it in Paris, will be a Grand Slam decider. For me, this is where we will know how good this French team is. We're all talking about them. Everyone's talking about them. They were talking about them before Ireland beat the All Blacks. World Cup there next year. Brilliant team. Dupont, World Player of the Year. So much going for it, but they've got to beat Ireland. Like, this is the one for them. And if they can beat Ireland, they can raise their performances. But like I just mentioned earlier when we were talking about the French-Italy game, they play a very similar style to Ireland in terms of how physical they are. So I just hope it's not one of them where it is hosing down. It comes down to penalties. I wouldn't mind seeing a Johnny Sexton drop goal. How good was that drop goal a few years ago?
I was just about to say that, and then all the memes that went round of him wheelbarrowing his spuds around Ireland. That's the biggest set of owners you've ever seen. But that led to, you go back to it 2 years ago, that led to Ireland's Grand Slam. That drop goal, they probably shouldn't have won that game. And then he slotted it from about 48 metres. Unbelievable.
So good.
Ridiculous.
Always said that he could go till he's 50. Always said it.
But yeah, I can't wait for this game. It is obviously a massive game this weekend. You know, I just wish it was later on in the tournament, maybe. So both teams could really hit their straps. But Ireland looked unbelievable at the weekend. France, when they wanted to, you know, their back row was ridiculous. I thought Jelanche was really good as well. It's going to be a massive battle, and whoever wins that is box seat to win it overall.
Well, the Guinness Six Nations is back, and so is the Guinness Match Pint Predictor, with over 40,000 pints of Guinness won at the weekend alone. And if you want to join at home, it isn't too late. All you need to do is download the Match Pint app, join our league with the code Rugby Pod, and get your predictions in to win free pints and other great prizes as well. Round one, lads, how'd you get on?
Full house, was it? Maximum points? I called it all, didn't I?
Not maximum points. You got all three games right, because maximum points would be 3 exact scorelines. But you did very well. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I thought about it. I had loads of ideas in my head. When England was 17-10 up, I had a few ideas in my head about a tweet and a video that I was going to put out to Jim Hamilton and all this stuff. And I was happy. I'd gone England by 4 in the match point predictor. And then fucking Eddie Jones gets involved. And we end up losing by 3. And I tip my hat to you, James. By that result, you were correct.
And I was correct last year as well. Just to let you know, just in terms of the standings. But I'm a rugby expert. I'm an anorak.
I'm too proud. I just couldn't type Scotland to beat England. I couldn't do it.
So Jim's currently in 662nd place in the league, and Goodey just over 1,000 places behind and 1,701st.
Yeah, but there's like 400,000 people in our league, so we're still doing pretty well.
Let's get into this week then. Wales and Scotland.
Who are you supporting, Goodey? Hand on heart. Hand on heart. As your Scotsman is one of your best mates and one of the best we've ever done it, who are you supporting?
Yeah, quarter Welsh, so I'm going to go Wales. And we're going to Cardiff in a couple of weeks. So, mate, Wales every day of the week.
Let me try and sell you it. We've got a Scotland team, right, that beat Wales a couple of years ago. Should have beat them last year if it weren't for a red card. Beat France away. Beat England away. Put 50 points in England at the weekend. Beat Australia comfortably. Beat Japan comfortably. We are flying at the minute, and Wales are limping, but they've got Dan Big, a friend of the show, who we love. Surely, Andrew, that is enough to make you think that Scotland the Brave are going to do it.
You convinced me there, James. I read Tame Bash from what he said in the press about there's going to be a massive edge to train this week. And then I read that Scotland haven't beaten Wales in Cardiff at the Principality for 20 years. And I thought, I convinced myself I'm a quarter Welsh. I used to wear red cycling shorts. I was going to go for Wales, but now you have spoken, James, the man of Scotland, the knowledge that you are, the fountain of knowledge that you are. I'm going to go Scotland by 4.
I'm going to go Scotland by... Are they allowed to close the roof now, or because the man who at the bat, who knows, can they close it or
who
not?
Who knows? I mean, COVID gets you indoors if you're not sat down, so who knows, mate?
Indoors, outdoors. If they close the roof, I reckon it could be Scotland by 9. If they
Based
don't...
on what?
What do you mean based on what? We had 2 opportunities at the weekend. We had 2 opportunities against England at the weekend, and we took them. If we get 5 opportunities against Wales, we'll probably take all of them. So I'm going to say, Scotland by 9. Boom.
France, Ireland.
Oh, this is tough. I'm definitely supporting Ireland. I'm going to go Ireland by 3.
Oh, I'm going to go France by 4.
And the big one, Italy v England.
I'll take this. Italy by 4. Be a tight game. Be close.
Imagine.
Can you imagine? All the way. I think you'll push them all the way, Goodey. I think you will. I think the desire will be there. But I just think Italy by 4. I'm sticking to that. I ain't moving.
I'm going to say England by 28.
Thanks, Goodey. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, producer Tristan. And thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube as well. And make ssure you've subscribed on Spotify.
Rugby Spot.
Spotted pod.